Hello mga ka-Buttercup! If you are new to our channel, please like and subscribe. Enjoy the rest of the video!
So, unicellular eukaryotes. Unicellular eukaryotes, they are not considered to be animals, but they are eukaryotic and it's kind of the most simple form of where kind of animals came from. So, we're going to start with protozoans. Unicellular eukaryotes are often referred to as protozoans. Protozoans are some of the earliest forms of the eukaryotic life that we found on this planet. There are fossil records of protozoans going back over 100 million years ago. Protozoans came about through a process called endosymbiosis. So, endosymbiosis, this process is how we end up getting some organelle that we have these days, including the mitochondria and the chloroplast. So, since akong gidrawing pag last reporting, mauto siya, kadto siya nag-explain to siya sa process of endosymbiosis. Generally, when we think about one cell and another cell, it's called nutrients, di ba? So the larger cell hold in the smaller cell and the digestive system, but it happens that our larger cell will engulf our smaller cell. In this case, our smaller cell is the sign of bacteria. But instead of digesting it and using it for nutrients, that sign of bacteria became part of that host cell. So it's just kind resided in the cytoplasm and so became of kind of symbiotic relationship between this larger cell and then our sign of bacteria. So example, mao ni siya ang larger cell. Sa iyang larger cell, naa siya primary host phagosomal membrane which is diri dapit. Nya, ang mosulod niya kay ang smaller cell. Ang smaller cell kay i-engulf siya sa larger cell. Ang nabilong sa smaller cell kay mao na siya ang cyanobacterial ug ang peptidoglycan. Mao na siya ang sa primary endosymbiosis. So now, diri sa secondary endosymbiosis, third cell will then come and engulf another cell that have already engulfed another cell. So lahi siya sa primary cell kanang ang secondary host phagosomal man ni siya nya kanang sa secondary host phagosomal membrane kay naa diri dapit ang kanang even larger yellow cell which already engulf or cyanobacterial. Nya, ang kani siya nga panalitan kani mao ni siya ang kanang yellow cell dili ang kanang primary host plasma membrane ikaon na siya una nya pagkaon sa pag-engulf sa primary host plasma membrane, ang primary host plasma membrane kay ni-engulf pa jud sa cyanobacterial OM o cyanobacterial IM. Mao na siya ang kalahian sa primary endosymbiosis o secondary endosymbiosis. Nya, mao to siya ang process sa katong endosymbiosis. The protozoans are the protoplasmic stage of complexity and most of them are microscopic. Some are not but most of them are. So, ang uban ana kanang makita sila sa kanang microscope gamit ang microscope pero ang uban kay lisod na ay dili na makita sa microscope. Protozoans are ubiquitous. What is ubiquitous? It is universal or all over. So naa siya sa kanang everywhere. It also has narrow range where they can live pero makasurvive ra na sila only sa require moisture if the weather are favorable for them. So naa gyud na sila kanang proper place nga kanang adto ra gid sila mabuhi.
Good day everyone, I'm Kika Cabanas and I am going to discuss to you the characteristics of our eukaryotes. So our eukaryotes are unicellular. Yes, they are unicellular, some of them are colonial, and some with multicellular stages in their life. So coloniality occurs when cells divide but they are intact together or remain together, while our multicellular stages requires the condition of collineality plus the additional criterion that only some organisms can reproduce. Second, our eukaryotes are mostly microscopic because gusto mo silang pagagamay, we need some um, equipment like microscope. But there are some that large enough for us to see in an unaided eye. So third, all symmetries represented in the group, shape variable or constant. Their shapes can be oval, spherical, or others. So wala sila, they don't have any distinct features. Lahi-lahi sila og shapes. Fourth is they have no germ layer present. Five, our eukaryotes don't have organs or tissues in them, but they specialize organelles and can be found in singular, nucleus single, or multiple. They they are found the next is um so our eukaryotes are free living, mutualism, commensalism, parasitism, all represented in the groups. So they are everywhere. Our eukaryotes are everywhere. They multiply, they are everywhere. So next is the locomotion by our different kinds of eukaryotes. So those are that following eukaryotes will be discussed by the next presenter. Number 8, some provided with a simple endoskeleton or exoskeleton, but most are naked. Nutrition of all types, autotrophic, heterotrophic, and saprozoic. So autotrophic means the manufacturing of own nutrition by photosynthesis. So they get their nutrition by the use of photosynthesis, while the heterotrophic, they depend on other variables like they depend on animals, plants, and other organisms. And lastly, as saprozoic, they use nutrients that are being dissolved in our environment. So, mga nahibiling ng mga nutrients like sa saulog, sa yuta, ano. So, our eukaryotes are also aquatic or terrestrial. So, they can be both found in land and in water. And they are also free living or symbiotic mode of life. And lastly, their way of reproduction is either asexual or sexual. In asexual, they can do fission, budding, and cysts. While in sexual, they can either do conjugation.
Hi, good day. I am Adeline May Parantar and I am part of the Group C. And today I will be discussing about protozoans body system. So first, let's start with nuclear membrane. So the nuclear membrane is a double layer that encloses the cell's nucleus where the chromosomes reside. The nuclear membrane serves to separate the chromosomes from the cell's cytoplasm and other contents. The nuclear membrane is considered a part of the endomembrane system as it is continuous with the Golgi body. The, the endomembrane system is composed of the different membranes that are suspended in the cytoplasm within a eukaryotic cell. These membranes divide the cell into functional and structural compartments or organelles. The critical function of the nuclear membrane is to act as a barrier that separates the contents of the nucleus from the cytoplasm. Next is mitochondria. Mitochondria are essential components of nearly all cells in the body These organelles are the powerhouses of the cells, providing energy to carry out biochemical reactions and other cellular processes. Mitochondria make energy for cells from the chemical energy stored in the food that we eat. In short, mitochondria are like small digestive systems in your cell that turns food into energy, and almost all protozoans contain double membrane mitochondria. Next is the Golgi complex. The Golgi complex is a part of the endomembrane system that participates in the cellular secretory processes and intracellular digestion of ingested food vacuoles. Golgi complexes are also called dictrosomes. Parabasal bodies are similar structures with potential similar functions. Lastly is cell wall. It is a structural layer surrounding some types of cells just outside the cell membrane. It can be tough, flexible, and sometimes rigid. It provides the cell with both structural support and protection, and also act as a filtering mechanism. In short, it is like the skeletal system because it supports the cell.
So in the forms of So in the forms and function, kay naay tulo ka kuan siyang locomotion. The cilia, the flagella, and the pseudopodia. So first kay ang sa cilia and flagella. So sa ihang structure makita na to dire mao ni siya kaning mao ni siya ang structure niya. Og sa ihang structure na siya microtubules. Diri sa microtubules kay there are two ka microtubules kani. And then sa iyahang arrangement kay 9 plus 2 arrangement, meaning ang kaning green nga naka-circle kay mo na siya 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So ang iyahang arrangement kay pa circular, right? It's arranged like a circle. Nya 9 raman siya, ang kana siyang plus 2 kay mao ni siya ang diri sa tunga niya, like tara 1 and 2 nga nag-atbang. And then using taga microtubule na ay tagsa-tagsa ka dynem. Kani siya 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 9 pod ka dynem. And using the hydrolysis, it will walk up and down through the microtubules, and this will cause the wavy motion. So, ang kanimang good nga protozoan kay ang motion pa wavy. Nya, mahitabo na siya tungod sa sliding microtubule hypothesis. Ang meaning sa sliding microtubule hypothesis kay ang usa ka microtubule kay move against other microtubule nga mukos nga na siyang mo bend, and sa sige siya bend kay makakos siya og wavy motion. So bend mo siya mo wavy motion. It will extend the entire length of flagella, and they will meet at the kinosome of basal body. Dire mo ni siya ang kinosome sa basal body. Dire sila mag-meet. That is inside the cytoplasm of the cell. They vary in number, na uban 2, na uban 4, na uban 6. And kani siya nga cilia and flagella kay it is not only used at locomotion but also in feeding, reproduction, excretion of waste, and osmoregulation. And mo na siya all in all kanang importance niya kay not only in locomotion but also in other processes. And then so cilia and flagella, that's 1 and 2. And next kay ang pseudopodia. Pseudopodia are a little bit different. They are primarily composed of actin filaments that will depolarize on the other and will kind of go through some of those steps in seconds. Mo ni siya ang iyahang kuan cup-like. And it will depolarize, no? And we'll kind of go through some of those steps in a second. They're also used for locomotion and feeding. And they vary in shapes. So, some of them are lobular loop. If makita mo sa amoeba kay dense, nya some can be more spiky, some are thick, some are thin. Thus, this area right here, kani, is called the hyaline cup. Mersiag cup, ana. Hyaline cup, mersiag cup. It's kind the direction of organism where it's going. So, kani siya may magdala kung asa ang iyahang direction kanang tumoy. So, it extend the endoderm will kind of flow into what extension. And while nag-flow siya, naa siya'y gidala nga actin filaments. Flowing endoplasm, na siya gidala nga actin filaments kani. Actin filaments kani red-like. And sa kana siyang actin filaments, kay mo na siya makakos, mao siyang ma-depolarize. If ma-depolarize na siya, makapush na siya sa tanan towards sa direction niya gusto. The myosin proteins are responsible of pulling in. Ito siya, ang process.
So another way that you can look at different categories of protozoan is through how they undergo circular respiration. So ang unicellular eukaryotes sad kay na sila nucleus, which kabalo sad ta nga sa mga parts sa nucleus kay naa jud ang mitochondria. So a lot of protozoans have mitochondria as a result of endosymbiosis. So what is endosymbiosis? This is a two organism living together with one inside the other. So way back ang mitochondria kay ato na siyang na-discuss, which is ang organelle used in recovering energy from carbon binds of fuel molecules where oxygen serve as thermal electron acceptors. It contains the DNA. Then ang mitochondria sad kay na siya cristae, which is ang cristae is the internal membranes of a mitochondrion. It has a variable form. It could be flat, tubular, discoid, or branch. Then, in cells without mitochondria, kay mukan sila og kaning hydrogenosomes, which ang kanang nga hydrogenosomes kay mo organelles na siya nga mo perform a respiratory function in the absence of oxygen and are assumed to have evolved mitochondria. Then another organelle that has been evolved from a mitochondria is the kinetoplast. It contains masses of circular DNA molecules and work in association with a kinetosome. Ang kanang kinetosome is an organelle that a base of a flagellum. Then, it used when trying to identify different phyla of protozoans. Ang collection sa tawag sa mga hydrogenosomes and other mitochondrial nga lack of DNA are the mitosomes. In addition to mitochondria, we also have plastids. Plastids is the organelles containing photosynthetic pigments and result of endosymbiosis gyapon siya. Then, ang kaning pigment tubes sa plastids kay naa dira kani, this one is the chloroplast, which is ang chloroplast contain a different version of chlorophylls. Pero na ang uban nga eukaryotes kay nag-contain na sila og other pigments, so dili gyud tanan kay green. Next is the Golgi complex, which is participate in circular secretory process and intracellular digestion of ingested food vacuoles. So kaning Golgi complex kay part na siya sa endomembrane system nga mo participate sa cellular secretory processes and also called as dectosons. Next is the extrasomes. It refers to a membrane-bound organelle and used to extrude something from the cell. Then, suggests nga not all extrasomes are homologous. So, this example kay ang ciliate trichocyst. Next is the another category is the nutrient acquisition, which ang food particle sa eukaryotes kay brought into a cell phagocytosis. Then, ang kani nga nutrition kay makuha ni siya derive with the cytosome. The cytosome is the designated mouth area sa unicellular eukaryotes. So, 'di ba, ang food particle kay gibrought siya sa phagocytosis. Then, ang kanang phagocytosis kay where extension or invasion of plasma membrane surround the food particle. Then, ang food particle is contained an intracellular or the membrane-bound vesicle. Then, mugo down na siya, which na dito, mugo down sa lysosome, which contain the digestive enzymes. Then, fuse with the phagosomes and pour their contents into it. Then, diha na musugod ang digestion. As digestive products are absorbed across the vascular membrane, the phagosome becomes smaller. Then, naaman dyan na siya yung mga undigestive material, di ba? So, mo-release na siya outside the exocytosis. Then, natagitawag og saprozoic feeding, which is the uptake dissolved salt or nutrients. And the other category is the reproduction. Although all unicellular eukaryotes reproduce asexually and some apparently asexually, then ang kana na siyang kadat reproduction kay testifies to its importance as means of genetic recombination. Sa asexual, kay the fission and the budding kay mo na siya ang type sa asexual reproduction, di ba? So, first, magtakol ta sa fission, which the fission kay this is the cell multiplication process that produces individuals in unicellular eukaryotes. Then, ang common type of fission is the binary fission, which is ang two identical individual result. Then, nasa tagitawag multiple fission, which is the division of cytoplasm is preceded by several nuclear divisions so that a number of individuals produces almost simultaneously. Sa binary fission kay two identical individual result, then sa multiple fission kay daghan ang result to more than two. Next is the budding, is another type of asexual reproduction when a progeny cell is considerably smaller than the parent and then grows to adult size. Then let's go to the sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction occurs in most unicellular eukaryotes. Then kabalo na sa taunsan ng sexual reproduction, di ba? So magkinahanglan na siya og two gametes or two parent. So fertilization, gamete result in diploid organisms, can alter between haploid and diploid generations. Meiosis occurs before or after the fertilization. In addition with the nutrition, kay the excretion or the waste is being eliminated from an organism. Like, ang waste kay mugawas sa organism. So it is called excretion. Where acicular waste such as amoeboid and excess water are excreted by exotosis as the contractive vacuoles move with cell membrane, expelling waste into the environment. Unlike sa uban, kina sila mga anos, sa unicellular kay wala. Mo excrete siya by exotosis. Then, in addition with the reproduction, kay natay gitawag og sangami, which is fertilization by another individuals, or a genetic nuclear of meiosis fused to form offsprings, or in simple terms, fertilization of individual gametes by another. Example is the autonogamy. Next is the conjugation, which is a chance of gamete nuclei occurs between pair of organisms. Okay, kani excretion and osmoregation. As I mentioned ganina, ang excretion kay ang waste kay mugawas sa organism. Next is the encystment and existment, which is ang forming of the cyst. Ang cyst kay, although separated from their external environment ang unicellular eukaryotes, nana sila'y delicate plasma membrane. Then, ang amazing lang jud sa amazing facts sa unicellular eukaryotes kay maka-form sila og cyst, which ang kana nga cyst kay help them to survive in an extreme harsh condition. So this is a survival under, it helped them to survive under harsh condition. And the cyst formation is important also to many parasitic forms that must survive a harsh environment. Then kani nga cyst kay a resistant stage of organism and it protected by cell-produced wall. And let's move on to diversification.
So the last part of this report is the diversification. There are a lot of kinds of unicellular eukaryotes, but I will just tackling about some of the famous examples of unicellular eukaryotes. The diplomonads, the Euglenoza, the Solyates, the Dinoflagellate, the Apicomplexa, the Viridiplantae, the Amoebozoa, and the Opisthoconta. First is the Euglenozoa. So the unique characteristic of the Euglenozoa is that they have nucleal during mitosis. Mo siyang gitawag siya og homologous nga feature niya or character. They have bicued mitochondrial cristae. And so makit-an di ari sa picture nga ang color niya kay green kay Euglenida have chloroplast. This switch from autotrophic to heterotrophic. If imo siyang iput sa dark o dugay, you can actually make them get rid of their chloroplast. So originally iyang color kay green kay na siya daghan nga chloroplast pero if imo siyang stay og dugay sa dark kay mawala ang iyang chloroplast. So ang color niya kay dili na siya mag-green or mahimo na lang siyang transparent. Nya also ang iyahang feature kay na siya kanang red spot or red circle dali. So if ma-switch na siya to heterotrophic, kay mo na siya gitawag nga saprozoic. And sa kinetoplasta, all of these are parasite or it is parasitic and it has a kinetoplast. And ang iyahang example kay trypanosoma which can cause African sleeping sickness that is caused by tsetse fly. And sa ang ikaduha kay trypanosoma cruzi or makakause siya og Chagas disease via kissing bug. And last kay ang leishmania or makakause siya og leishmaniasis nya ang iyang host kay sandflies. Next kay ang diplomonads. So sa diplomonads mo ni siya ang kani cute kaayo nga feature. Nani siya so ang gibutang diari kay no mitochondria. Wa siya mitochondria pero na siya mitochondrial genes. So if hunahunaon siya at some point at their life na siya mitochondria pero lang nawala mo nang anaan na lang niya kay mitochondrial genes. And mo na yung feature na siya flagella and duha ka nuclei and median body. Pero dili na to ganahan nga ato ni siya mahikapan kay this can cause severe diarrhea. And mapuyo ni siya sa digestive tract as a parasite. Nya if makuha na nimo it's either wala kay symptoms or asymptomatic or motong giingon kaniha nga maka-cause siya og severe diarrhea. Nya kani siya kay makatakod from host to host. So like example, you drink water from a stream and it's contaminated with sewage, human waste or animal waste. So makuha na nimo siya. And gitawag ni siya og traveler's parasite. Next kay ang ciliates. Ciliates sa iyang ciliates if hinayon to siya pagbasa, ciliates na siya cilia. And mo ni siya ang cilia kaning hairy-like structure nga nagtuyok niya kani. Mo ni siya ang cilia. Cytosome is their mouth kani. They have two nuclei. They have micronucleus and macronucleus. So ang buhat sa macronucleus kay sila mo'y mag-translate sa padung sa proteins nya. Ang genes kay makita ra siya or it's only from and transcribed from macronucleus. And the only
use or micronucleus only play its rules for sexual reproduction. And one of the example is the paramecium. Next is the dinoflagellata. So they come in many sizes, shapes, and colors. More ni More ni siya kaning six kabuk are some of the examples of dinoflagellata. So we have our one half autotrophic and pigmented, and also one half heterotrophic and colorless. They have two flagella and extremely important in marine environment. They're base of foods of various marine life, and it's also important for the survival of coral reefs or corals due to their mutualistic relationship. They can also called red tide kaning nasa ubos is na siya, red tide because the toxin of dinoflagellata, the toxin is caused by dinoflagellata, and kanang nindot siya o na siya yung nindot nga butang which is ang iyang feature, and maka-cause siya og survival sa corals, but on the other hand kay toxic siya sa wildlife and human life. Okay, that toxin, if ma-ingest siya sa fish or sa any marine nga makakaon niya, kay it can kill them, and also it is harmful to humans. So if na red tide which is caused by dinoflagellata, kay dili ta pwede maligo og dagat. So it's harmful economically and environmentally. Economically in a way that if nag-red tide siya, syempre ang mga naay dako nga chance nga ang mga fishes and other nga marine life kay ma-ingest niya, and toxic na siya nga mga fish. And if ang uban nga dagat kay ang income nila sa government or sa mga private sectors kay ang mga tourists nya, if nag-red tide, syempre dili sila kaadto, so maapektaran Japon economically. Next kay Apicomplexa. So Apicomplexa, almost all are endoparasite. They actually have complex called apical complex designed to penetrate host tissues, which causes toxoplasmosis, which if anyone has ug naa may kanang baby or pregnant, kay stay away from cats because ang cats maoy desired host ani nga parasite. It can cause birth defects or even miscarriage. And other example is the plasmodium, which can cause the famous malaria. Next kay ang Viridae plantae. Viridae plantae is very interesting. They are plant-like protozoans, and kani siya, it's a reminder nga ang kani siyang green algae is not plants but a unicellular prokaryotes. It's a protozoan. Yeah, it can be unicellular, multicellular, or colonial. Unicellular by itself, and multicellular because they survive together, and colonial because of their level of complexity. Try example niya green algae. So next is the famous amoebozoa.
So example sa Amoebozoa kay ang Plasmodial slime molds, drummer siya slime, and Entamoeba histolytica. Nya makakuan siya og dysentery and abscesses. And lastly kay ang Opisthocontha. Ang Opisthocontha kay na siya sister taxa which is called choanoflagellates. Sister taxa to animals and similar to sponge choanocytes, often studied to learn how multicellularity have arose. And status and conversation, these multicellular eukaryotes, specifically protozoan, is not extinct.